Okay, calling the roll for the Monday, December 18, 2023 Board of Control meeting. It is 11 a.m. We have Levine Ross serving as an alternate for Meredith Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Dale Miller.
Here.
James Boyle serving as an alternate for Purnell Jones Jr.
Present.
Nicole English serving as an alternate for Mike Dever.
Here.
Catherine Gallagher serving as an alternate for Chris Renee, County Executive.
Here.
Lee Tucker serving as an alternate for Michael Chambers, Interim Fiscal Officer, and as chairperson.
Here.
Paul Porter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
If we could take a second to review the minutes from December the 11th. And if there are no corrections, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Are there any corrections?
Second.
Thank you. Second by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Moving on to contracts and awards.
First item, BC 2023-819, Department of Public Works, requesting authority to apply for grant funds from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, National Park Service in the amount of $1,498,750 for the Beulah Park Euclid Beach Connector Trail in connection with the Cuyahoga County Lakefront Public Access Plan in the City of Cleveland for the period December 18, 2023 through December 17, 2025, and submitting a grant award with said RFP exemption.
Nicole English with Public Works. So we're asking to accept this grant from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources towards the project in Beulah Park, the Euclid Beach Connector. We continue to compile the funding for the project, which is now secured at about $9.2 million out of a $16 million project.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Did you say 6D or 16?
1-6.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-820, Department of Public Works, requesting authority to apply for grant funds from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources in the amount of $70,000 for the Beulah Park Euclid Beach Connector Trail in connection with the Cuyahoga County Lakefront Public Access Plan in the City of Cleveland for the period December 18, 2023 through December 17, 2025, and submitting a grant award with said RFP exemption.
Nicole English with Public Works. Again, this is another grant for the same project that I just spoke about.
Move for approval.
Second.
Approved by Councilman Miller, seconded by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-821, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment to a contract with Browning Ferris Industries of Ohio Incorporated, DBA Republic Services, for rubbish removal services at various county buildings for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $240,000.
Good morning, everyone. Tom Pavich, Department of Public Works. This is an amendment to our garbage removal contract with Republic Waste. We're just looking to extend it one additional year at additional funds. The original contract was a formal bid. It was a 2-year period, so we're just looking to add one additional year to make it a 3-year period, and we'll end up rebidding this next year.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Why didn't we bid it out now? I mean, not now, but 6 months ago.
The vendor agreed to hold the same price, so we're just looking to extend and capitalize on that.
There wasn't an option for a renewal, automatic renewal in the terms of the contract?
I'd have to look. We're putting those in most of our contracts now, but either way, that would have had to have come back to the board, so.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. English. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-822, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment to a contract with Precision Compaction Services LLC for preventative maintenance and repair services on compactors, balers, and dumpsters located at various county buildings for the period August 2nd, 2022 through August 1st, 2025, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $23,000.
Good morning, Tom Pavich again, Public Works. We're looking to amend this contract with Precision Compaction. They do the preventative maintenance and repairs for all of our dumpsters and balers located at our docks. The original contract was a bid. It goes until, I think, August of 2025. Unfortunately, this year we had several mechanical failures and high-ticket, high-dollar repairs that we had to have some of the equipment repaired, so we're just looking to add additional funds. No change in scope, no change in price with the vendor, just adding additional funds.
Any questions on this item? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Levine. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved.
Thank
Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-823, Department of Public Works submitting a revenue-generating agreement with City of Seven Hills in the amount not to exceed $400,000 for maintenance and repair of storm and sanitary sewers and pumping stations located in the County Sewer District Number 2 for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
Nicole English with Public Works. This is one of our sanitary direct bill agreements that some of the cities renew annually. And so Seven Hills is renewing, or having a new agreement in '24 for $400,000.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-824, Department of Development recommending an award and submitting an agreement with Cleveland State University in the amount not to exceed $24,500 for research and analysis in areas related to economic development for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
Hi, good morning. Bob Flato with Department of Development. These services are expected to provide useful data on the economic impact of departmental projects and programs. Their analysis would include data such as demographics, education, poverty, income and income inequality, transportation, supply chain, housing, property data, et cetera, from Cleveland State.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-825, Department of Development submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to the National Council for Community Development Incorporated, DBA Grow America, and the amount not to exceed $198,000 for economic development and technical assistance services for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2025, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Bob Flato again. The Department of Development continues to use these services in evaluating economic development projects in the county. Grow America provides technical assistance on complex projects that involve multiple layers of funding and may include historic tax credits, new market tax credits, low-income housing tax credits, et cetera. The services are also extended to our 59 communities, and the organization also administers our Grow Cuyahoga Fund that provides SBA 7A financing to businesses in need of working capital. We do have Tom Jackson from Grow America here today if you have any questions for him or myself.
Thank you. Are there any questions for this, on this item?
Yes.
Councilman Miller?
So, what projects did you work on of significance in 2023, and what impact did you have on those projects?
Do you want to answer that? Or you want me to?
I think I'll let Bob answer
Oh,
that. I'm just
okay.
taking over the contract for one
Yeah.
of my colleagues
So-
for this visit.
I did submit, we get monthly reports from National Development, formerly known as National Development Council. Some of the, they have worked on some municipal projects this year in Brook Park and North Olmsted and Cleveland Heights regarding, they provided technical assistance on, for example, our Myers project, economic development loan that we did. They've also made 3 Grow Cuyahoga County Fund loans this year of about close to $500,000 between 3 loans. And,
Do we,
oh,
Councilman, if I may add, Paul Hertig, Department of Development. We also rely on the organization to help us with some of the more complex projects. For example, we asked them to take a look at the Blue Abyss project this year to understand how such a large and innovative project might eventually fit into the type of financing we can do. So we do, I will say, we find it useful to have this resource available to backstop us when we get into the larger, more complicated deals.
okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-826, Department of Housing and Community Development, recommending a payment and submitting a purchase order to City of Euclid in the amount of $116,476.96 as final payment for reimbursement of FY 2016 through 2018 U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Home Investment Partnership Program funds for home qualified activities provided under contract number AG 1900185 during the term of the contract from May 1st, 2019 through April 30th, 2021.
Sarah Parks Jackson, Housing and Community Development. This is a request by the City of Euclid, who experienced some personnel challenges and found these invoices that were actually performed under the contract term but not submitted to us for reimbursement, and therefore we're requesting those funds so that they can be reimbursed.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Porter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-827, Department of Housing and Community Development, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Court Community Service in the amount not to exceed $110,000 for litter control services and oversight in selected urban communities for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2025, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Sarah Parks Jackson, Housing and Community Development. This is a longstanding contract that we have had with Court Community Service. They go into our 51 urban county communities upon request and do litter control and cleanup in their commercial areas.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. English. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-828, Department of Housing and Community Development, recommending an award and submitting an agreement with Cleveland State University in the amount not to exceed $65,000 for research and development of a comprehensive housing plan with metrics and recommendations effective upon contract signatures of all parties through October 31st, 2024.
Sarah Parks Jackson, Housing and Community Development. This request for Cleveland State University to provide us with a comprehensive housing plan will allow them to look at the plans that are currently developed, such as the homeless services plan, the reentry plan, the senior and adult plan, as well as plans that have been prepared by other organizations, such as Enterprise and United Way. They will also have conversations with the mayors in all the communities so that we can assess what the affordable housing and non-affordable housing needs are in the community and make a comprehensive plan for the county to move forward.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Ms. Ross?
Hi, good morning. I just have one question. How long will the study take, or when do you think that they'll have kind of everything wrapped up?
We are anticipating a year, if not less, when I talk to Urban Studies, who will actually be conducting the study, because they already have the studies that are county studies and some of the outside studies, which I've already provided to them. That helps. So then they will begin to talk to the communities and the community leaders as well as county staff.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next
Thank you.
item.
Next item, BC 2023-829, Department of Information Technology submitting an amendment to a contract with Tim Wahop for Enterprise Resource Planning Systems Support Services for the period March 22nd, 2021 through December 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $98,800.
Good morning, Dennis Sullivan, Department of IT. This is an amendment for the ERP staff. Tim Wahop's been with us since the award of the RFP back in 2020.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Not an employee, though. He's a contractor, right?
Correct.
You know, these are another one of the ones, I mean, we'd have been better off hiring him, quite frankly, but operationally, it seems like.
I think the difficulty we're facing, I don't want to speak specifically for this need, but overall, is what the county's experiencing trying to hire people, period.
Yeah, no, you're right, Dennis. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I mean, in hindsight, it's easier to look at it, but, okay.
I have a question as well, if I may.
Mhm.
Are the services that he provides needed on an ongoing basis, or is it time limited? And are we able to transition this work to existing employees?
Councilman, I can answer part of that, and the rest I can get from you from Mr. Robert Knoll, but it is my belief that they're doing documentation for if and when an employee does get hired to transition the documentation process over. So that piece of it is ongoing. I know there was conversation about whether or not this might be needed in 2025, and that's a real possibility because of the upgrade to the ERP system and scheduled for 2026.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Porter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
BC 2023-830, Department of Information Technology, submitting an amendment to a contract with DataBank IMX for on-base software support and maintenance for the period May 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2024, to change the terms effective upon contract signatures of all parties, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $282,496.
This is an amendment for our on-base support. This is also driven off an RFP that was awarded in 2020.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-831, Department of Information Technology, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to Advisec Technologies in the amount not to exceed $111,874.06 for a joint cooperative purchase of various licenses for VM software subscription services for various time periods effective December 26, 2023 through March 30th, 2025, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
This is a joint co-op off the Omni partnership. This is an IT standard for this software, which is a backup for internal and cloud repositories. And this is also part of the disaster recovery plan.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-832, Department of Information Technology, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation to TEC Communications Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $23,900 for a state contract purchase of 100 Cisco IP 8811 phones, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
This purchase with TEC is a state term schedule. It's for a replenishment of the IT stock that has been sent out to various agencies throughout time.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-833, correcting to read 1 year. Department of Information Technology, on behalf of the Sheriff's Department, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Integrated Precision Systems in the amount not to exceed $8,462.75 for a state contract purchase of 1 Axis Dome camera, 1 Zenithal intercom, 1 card reader, various equipment needed for installation and programming of the intercom to be located in the Sheriff's Department Information Technology Office, and 1 year of maintenance and support, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
IPS is a countywide standard for surveillance and security, and this is for the IT presence that's in the sheriff's office.
You know where it is, Dennis? Where in the sheriff's?
I don't know the exact location where the IT personnel sit, and that doesn't help me because I don't know exactly where that is.
Moving in a circle here.
I can find out. for you.
Yeah, would you, I mean, is this replacing one or just adding?
This is an addition. This is new.
Okay.
But Mr. DeGrandis will have that answer.
Why, I'm sure of that.
Any additional questions on this item?
I will get that to Cheryl.
No additional questions. I make a motion to approve as amended for the 1 year.
Second.
Second by Mr. Boyle. All those
Wow,
in
she
favor say
promoted
aye.
you.
Not even close.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-834. Department of Information Technology submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to MNJ Technologies Direct Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $16,734 for a state contract purchase of 8 HP ZBook Firefly mobile workstations, each to include HP CarePack hardware support, 5-year warranty, HP Absolute Data and Device Security Premium subscription licenses, 12 docking stations, and 11 monitors for the Court of Common Pleas Juvenile Court Division, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
For this purchase, MNJ provided state term contract pricing, and this is IT standards hardware.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-835, Department of Information Technology submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to One Spark LLC in the amount not to exceed $150,800 for staff augmentation services for the Enterprise Resource Planning System for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
This ERP staff augmentation is the same as the previous amount, $145 an hour based on 20 hours per week, and it may not be needed the entire year.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes. What kind of work is it used for?
Raul, I believe, is on the fiscal side. Dale, I'll confirm that.
Okay.
When you say on the fiscal side, what do you mean?
With the fiscal applications going through the ERP.
Okay. Are there any additional questions on that item?
Dennis, you said that may not be needed. What are the factors that would determine whether or not the individual would be needed?
And the little bit I know about this specifically, to be honest with you, is if the application is all cleaned up, it's integrated, it's out.
So it's a
Simple.
project-specific, the consultant or whoever we're bringing in is project-specific, so if he or she wraps up the project, presumably then.
I believe that's why it is of the nature of 20 hours a week and a foreseeable end within the year.
But it just seems, I mean, if it's, why wouldn't we, well, all right, I mean, it just strikes me, if it's that vital and we have to hire outside of the county sources, why don't we do an all hands on deck and hire them for 40 hours a week and get it done in half the time? But
There's a lot of variables in that
I'm
answer,
aware.
to be honest with you, and I'm not dodging you.
no, I
But
know.
there's testing and other department resources needed to implement something. It's not just a matter of having something ready to go.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2023-836, Department of Law submitting an amendment to a contract with Relics Incorporated, DBA LexisNexis, a division of Relics Incorporated for online legal research services for various county departments and agencies for the period January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $249,380.32.
Good morning, this is Jared Zipotowski from the Law Department. This is our contract for online legal services, which we get through LexisNexis.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Porter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-837, Court of Common Pleas Corrections Planning Board submitting an amendment to a contract with Oriana House Incorporated for cognitive behavioral therapy utilizing the Thinking for Change model for the period July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2023, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2024, to change the terms effective July 1st, 2023, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $272,800.
Good morning, Linda Lagoonzad from the Corrections Planning Board. The Common Pleas Court would like to enter into a one-year contract amendment with Oriana House to provide cognitive skills development programming in support of offenders undergoing community supervision by the court's Adult Probation Department. Oriana's staff will use the evidence-based Thinking for a Change model developed by the National Institute of Corrections to teach moderate and high-risk offenders the cognitive restructuring, social skills, and problem-solving skills needed to become law-abiding and productive members of the community. Sessions foster social skills through modeling, homework, and role plays.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Councilman Miller?
Is there any program in place to measure the effectiveness of these services and whether they actually do better in the community compared with a control group that would not receive these services?
So the answer is no, but I've been thinking about this question, anticipating it. And so the Corrections Planning Board has, it works on the drafting of contracts of RFPs, such as this one, which will undergo an RFP process in 2024. This is just a possibility, but obviously all the monies come from the community, the tax dollars, to support any kind of evaluation of this program to determine its effectiveness. But why can't we ask the provider to provide that study? Why are we always looking for ourselves to do this? So this is something I will definitely be bringing up with our administration at the court, so that, because this particular provider, I understand, can certainly assist with that type of evaluation.
Okay, thank you.
So that's my goal.
Thank you. Any additional questions on this item? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2023-838, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, submitting an amendment to a contract with Mizana Reporting Service Incorporated for court transcription services for the period January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $10,000.
Hi, Tara Brown, Juvenile Court. This is an amendment to fund the remaining invoices that we have for this year. We do have an amendment to extend it, excuse me, for 2 years, but they negotiated one of the rates, so I split it to get this one before you earlier.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
So this will pay us through the end of the year, and then moving forward, there's going to be another, is that another
Correct.
2-year?
Yes, it's
with the
another
same
2 years.
vendor?
Yes.
Are there any additional questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-839, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Rising Over Situations Evaluating Self, Roses Mentoring, in the amount not to exceed $30,714 for community-based and social-based mentoring services for court-referred females ages 12 to 17 for the period July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Sharon Allen, Juvenile Court. Yes, this is one more of the 20 RFP exemptions that's coming through. This vendor shall provide community-based and school-based mentoring service to expose youth to pro-social activities, and this is 100% funded through Reclaim.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Ross?
Good morning. Is this a new vendor, or have we used them before in the past?
No, this will be a new vendor.
And do we have any metrics on whether or not this service or how this service will be evaluated?
Yes, there was an email that went out. I can forward it to you through Cheryl, and Case Western Reserve University is how it's being monitored.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-840, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in an award recommendation to Sports and Spine Physical Therapy Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $57,576.96 for educational and vocational support services for court-referred youths ages 15 to 17 with high risk for recidivism for the period July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Hi, Sharon Allen, Juvenile Court. Yes, this is another one of the 20 RFP exemption contracts, 100% funded through Reclaim. Now, this vendor shall engage youth in development of job readiness skills, financial literacy, and college and trade school preparedness.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-841, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, recommending awards and submitting agreements with various municipalities in the total amount not to exceed $3,300 for community diversion program services for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, as listed for items A and B on the printed agenda.
These are two, Sharon Allen, Juvenile Court again. These are two more of the 30-plus community diversion programs intended to divert youth from court using community-based programs throughout the county.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-842, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, on behalf of the Medical Examiner's Office, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in award recommendation Kistler Police Supply in the amount not to exceed $4,725.92 for a state contract purchase of 17 cases of forensic ballistic ammunition for the firearms lab, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Leslie White, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services. So the Medical Examiner's Office is utilizing grant dollars to help build an ammunition library. And with this particular purchase, it's one of 10 vendors that are on their approved vendors list of ammunition providers. And it was just, so they we had them put together their wish list of all the ammunition they wanted to buy to build up their library. And then this particular vendor had some of the items on that list at state contract pricing. So that's how we ended up moving forward with them.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-843, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, on behalf of the Medical Examiner's Office, submitting an RFP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to Vance Outdoors Incorporated, DBA Vance's Law Enforcement, in the amount not to exceed $9,999.75 for state contract purchase of 49 cases of forensic ballistics ammunition for the firearms lab, and submitting a purchase order with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Leslie White, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services. This again is ammunition for that, to build up that library, and the ammunition's utilized for their ballistic comparison to bullets and casings from crime scenes. This was just another vendor that offered state contract pricing of some of the ammunition on the wish list.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-844, Sheriff's Department recommending an award on RQ 13429 and submitting a contract with GPI Enterprises Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $75,000 for 2 temporary full-time clerical employees as needed for the Commissary Division for the period January 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024.
Good morning, Chris Costin, Sheriff's Department. We're looking to hire 1, possibly 2 temporary clerks to help out our commissary division. This is going to get us by until we are able to hire 2 full-time clerks.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Yes. Why is it so hard to find people to fill these positions?
Just like any other department, we're having a hard time hiring people. But this is something different for this one. We just took over, Keith Software is running commissary now. So we have a backlog of paperwork that needs to be done. We're also, we're on hold to hire until Keith Software was up and running. Now that it's live, we're submitting a PRF to hire full-time employees.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Additional questions?
What are we paying these temporaries?
The temp clerks are $28.57 an hour.
What would be the rate? Presumably the clerk positions are under They're unionized, correct?
That is correct. Their rate is just under $20 an hour. However, the temps cannot be paid out of the commissary dollars, so it's in general fund now. The full-time hirees will be paid out of the commissary, which is self-sustaining.
Ms. Ross?
Our goal is probably one clerk full-time, and then if we need on an as-needed basis, we'll call one in.
Any additional questions?
Just more of a comment. Actually, it is. I mean, we went through from the county structure, the hiring issues that we had early on were correctional officers, social workers, et cetera. But now it seems that the issues that are facing the county in terms of filling necessary positions is now literally across the board. And, you know, I don't know whether HR, I mean, we've got to get some sort of plan in place to make sure that we're functional. I mean, the commissary has not been without issues in the past. They're well documented. So I'm not happy, and I don't think anyone's happy that we're hiring temporary workers to work in the commissary, but at least the work is being done. But I mean, from a more global commentary, I mean, we've got to get our hiring together. I mean, and I'm not assigning blame. I'm just saying this is obviously a problem that's all over. But it is now. It's not just social worker and correctional officers now. It's everywhere. Luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Hearing no additional questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Boyle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-845, Department of Public Safety and Justice Services submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in award recommendation to West Publishing Corporation, DBA Thomson Reuters, AKA Thomson Reuters Enterprise Center, GmbH, in the amount not to exceed $43,526.40 for the purchase of 1 Clear Plus investigative software and 8 each Clear LE Plus Criminal Justice Arrest Gateway and license plate reader using licenses for the Northeast Ohio Regional Fusion Center for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Leslie White, Department of Public Safety. So this is a contract for the Northeast Ohio Regional Fusion Center for 8 software licenses to access license plate reader data. The reason for the exemption is because all 3 fusion centers in the state use the same platform. And this is being paid for with the FY22 State Homeland Grant, and the state did approve the award.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. English. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2023-846, Department of Health and Human Services, CAGA Job and Family Services, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in payments to various providers in the total amount not to exceed $82,402.23 as final payment for SNAP Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program to Skills Employment and Training Services for the period October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2023, as listed for items A1 through 7 on the printed agenda, and submitting various purchase orders with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of Cuyahoga Jobs and Family Services. The contracts for these services ended on September 30th, 2023. Unfortunately, the contracts were closed before final invoices could be paid. These are the payments on those final invoices.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Councilman Miller?
My wife works for the Centers for Families and Children, so I'm going to recuse on this item. Thank you.
Are there any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Ross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
And 1 recusal.
And 1 recusal. Yes, thank you.
Next item, BC 2023-847, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, recommending an award on RQ 13102 and enter into a contract with Circle Health Services, DBA The Centers, in the amount not to exceed $450,000 for residential placement for up to 58 children and young adults for high-quality child care for children in custody in connection with the Child Wellness Campus project, effective upon contract signatures of all parties for a period of 6 months.
Good morning again. Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of Children and Family Services. We issued an RFP in July for vendors to operate the planned Child Wellness Campus at the Metzenbaum Center. In the RFP, we gave potential vendors the opportunity to offer an alternative to Metzenbaum. We did receive 4 bids, and none of those responses was directed at operating the Metzenbaum Center, but instead they offered existing or proposed other facilities. The centers at Cleveland Christian Home offered their entire campus located at 11401 Lorraine Avenue in Cleveland, offering us a total of 58 beds when the RFP only contemplated 16 beds. This contract is to allow the centers to begin the recruitment, hiring, and onboarding of new staff for the Child Wellness Campus. As you can guess, this is going to be a big task, so we wanted to get this part going so when the residential buildings come online, they can be adequately staffed. We have Director Jackie Fletcher from DCFS here and Eric Morris, the President and CEO of the centers here, who can answer any specific questions related to the program itself.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councilman Miller?
I'm going to recuse on this item as well for the same reason. Thank you.
Ms. Ross?
We'll bring up Eric Morris, who might be able to better answer that.
Eric Morse with the Centers. I believe it will start us on hiring, I believe an additional 40 staff. But since it's only paying for 6 months, it might be 20 to begin with. It'll really depend on how fast hiring goes.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved with one recusal from Councilman Miller. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-848, correcting to read 104 guest. Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Office of Homeless Services, submitting an RFP exemption, which will result in award recommendation to Emerald Development and Economic Network Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $425,000 for acquisition costs for property located at 2710 Walton Avenue for temporary emergency housing for 104 guests currently residing at Norma Herr Women's Center, effective upon contract signature of all parties for a period of 3 years, and submitting a contract with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Melissa Serac, Director of the Office of Homeless Services, requesting an award with Emerald Development and Economic Network, Inc. for $425,000 for acquisition of 2710 Walton Avenue for temporary emergency housing. The Office of Homeless Services has been working collaboratively with Eden, the owner of the current Norma Herr facility, over the last several years to create and implement a plan to renovate and upgrade the women's single adult shelter. The intent of the several-phase project is to provide a shelter space that is more dignifying and humane for those persons needing emergency shelter in our community. As the renovation plans were further redefined and developed, it was determined that a space for temporary relocation would be necessary to ensure the project is cost-effective and moves as expediently as possible. It has been determined that 2710 Walton meets all relocation needs and is a critical component in ensuring the renovations move forward. Lastly, the Office of Homeless Services released the Cuyahoga Continuum Action Plan in March of 2023 and identified the goal to improve the experience of persons experiencing a housing crisis in our system. If approved, the acquisition of 2710 Walton will serve as a significant investment in the Norma Herr Rehabilitation Project, as well as the Homeless Continuum's response to other and future community needs. With me today, I do have Elaine Gimmel and Richard Carr from Eden to answer any questions in more detail.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Ms. Ross?
Yes. Hi, Melissa. Good morning. How long will the women be temporarily relocated at this location?
Right now, current plans anticipate 2 to 3 years.
And then after the 3 years, what will the property be used for?
At that time, Eden, the county does have the first right to refusal for $10, and Eden will then turn to the county to see and address any additional continuum needs should we choose to with the building.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions?
Where is 2710 Walton? I don't recognize the address.
What are the cross-sections? I should know this, I'm sorry.
West 25th Street.
West 25th Street.
I stay on the east side.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve as with the tweak noted. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next
Thank you.
item.
First item, exemptions, BC 2023-849, Sheriff's Department requesting an alternative procurement process which will result in award recommendations to various providers as listed on the printed agenda items A through D, and the total amount not to exceed $32,000 for various purchases for food service operations in the jail kitchen for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
Chris Costin, Sheriff's Department, and we're looking for award recommendations for the four vendors below for necessary purchases that we need in a timely fashion.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing no questions, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Porter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-850, Sheriff's Department requesting an alternative procurement process which will result in an award recommendation to various providers as listed on the printed agenda, items A through D, and the total amount not to exceed $71,000 for various equipment repairs in the jail facilities for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
Chris Costin, Sheriff's Department, just as the item above, we're looking for award recommendations for the four vendors below.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
What are they going to do? I mean, what are the typical work?
For example, if we need paper products or toilet paper or food products, paper trays, or anything like that, if we're having issues, get it from our original supplier. It will allow us to go out and get these for the jail.
Am I on the wrong one? I apologize. I thought I was on. Are we on 851 or 850?
50. We're on 850.
That one's the one that includes Cleveland Communications and
Yeah.
General Parts.
Okay, like what would Toyota Material Handling Ohio? What would
We have a forklift.
Okay, got it.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-851, Department of Health and Human Services recommending an alternative procurement process which will result in payments to Treasurer State of Ohio for various invoices and a total amount not to exceed $250,000 for technical support services to county employees in connection with the tech service support policy for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
Good morning, Ramon Caldos, Health and Human Services. This alternate procurement request is for technology service and support policy. Through TSSP, HHS is able to request IT equipment and services from the state. The state provides workstation software and network access that enables staff to connect to the state ODJFS site. HHS agencies are on the state mainframe and servers, and we are responsible for covering the maintenance and service of these. We usually get billed quarterly, and approval will allow us a mechanism to pay these invoices.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item? Hearing none, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, BC 2023-852, Department of Health and Human Services, CAGA Job and Family Services, recommending an alternative procurement process which will result in various award recommendations to various providers as listed for items A and B on the printed agenda, and the total amount not to exceed $120,000 for non-emergency client transportation services for the period January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024.
Good morning, Ramon Caldas, Health and Human Services for Cuyahoga Job and Family Service. The NET Transportation Program is designed to provide non-emergency transportation services to Medicaid recipients. The program is critical for individuals who do not have any other means of transportation, ensuring they have access to medical appointments and other health-related services covered by Medicaid. The program is aimed at providing consistent healthcare access and reducing missed medical appointments. We do currently have an RFP with AmeriCab, but this alternate procurement would serve as a backup when AmeriCab isn't available or the client, sometimes they don't want to use AmeriCab. We are mandated by the state to provide these services, and it is fully reimbursable via Medicaid.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
Is AmeriCab different from both of these two?
No, they're both taxi services.
But AmeriCab is a different company, and we have two additional companies in this contract. Is that correct?
Well, we only have an RFP with AmeriCab. These would be outside of that RFP contract. So when AmeriCab isn't available, or if the client doesn't want to use AmeriCab, these two would serve as backup.
And they're all three separate companies. They all just happen to start with the letter A.
Yeah.
ACE, ABC, and AmeriCab.
And am I correct that AmeriCab provides most of these services?
Correct.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions?
Yes, thank you for providing that information because I was going to ask about the AmeriCab contract. But just a quick question, with these new two providers, how many people do you think that they will serve?
I know last year that we served, it was about 64 with, I believe it was ACE, and I think it was 140 with ABC.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Moving on to consent agenda items.
Consent agenda items are BC 2023-853 through BC 2023-856.
We can take a moment to review the consent agenda items. Are there any questions?
Just a comment. I mean, and I probably should have said something when the sheriff's folks were there as well. I mean, I'm just wondering whether there's opportunities for combining services. I mean, and look, we're buying Joseph paper and packaging on exemption 2023-849. And I know they're separate things, but it's one company. On 853, we're doing the same thing here. And it seems like perhaps if we had a across-the-board purchasing situation with them, we might have been able, maybe I'm wrong, Nicole, but it just, I always get bothered when and they're small dollars, so it's not that big a deal, but if we're using this vendor, perhaps a global contract with them would have made sense, because my guess is we're buying the same type of stuff from the sheriff's side as we are from the county side. And this is something with a new sheriff, perhaps he can kind of moving in a different direction with the sheriff, with operations, et cetera, to get those things unified.
If I could offer a comment, I would say it depends on like the ordering process for the specific vendor and how the departments use that. We do have the countywide office supplies contract with WB Mason, in which each department is authorized to like have their own point person who can submit orders. Something like that might be able to work, but I don't know how these companies work. If it's like only one person can order for the county's account, that's probably the biggest factor. There are a bunch of other examples where we've combined contracts with multiple departments, including the interpretation and translation services. So it's something we can look at. It just depends on whether the mechanism is right for that, I guess.
If nothing else, potentially it can cut down on the paperwork and the approval stuff that goes in. That's your bread and butter from the procurement side, but the rest of us on the other side would like less paperwork.
Duly noted, Mr. Boyle.
Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda items. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. English. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Moving on, is there any?
And may I ask one more question
Sure.
on 852, even though we've already approved it? The question is if I could just get a little bit of a description of the procurement process, how these two vendors were chosen and how this process differed from a regular procurement.
These two were chosen based on the RFP that was submitted. So we put out an RFP and AmeriCab won it, but these two other vendors submitted bids as well. So we know that they are able to provide the net transportation program. They meet the criteria of providing these services for Medicaid recipients.
Okay, thank you.
So could you look at a master contract in the future, or do you use these so few compared to?
We use these so few.
And I think there was discussion about the potential for a master agreement, but I think there were concerns about the referral process and the way these referrals are distributed. Like, would it make sense to have it split up as a master? Or would that add an additional layer of difficulty that we don't have under the existing setup? If I recall correctly, is that accurate, Ramon?
Sounds accurate.
Marcos Cortez, Health and Human Services. This RFP will be going out at the end of the year for services to begin in 2025, so we can look at a master at that point.
Thank you. Additional questions regarding that item? Okay, thank you. Moving on to other business.
No other business?
Any public comment?
No public comment?
I can make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. English. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Stop, yeah.